Hana pressed her face closer to the radar screen, her violet eyes widening in disbelief. The energy signature made no sense. Primitive fusion drives that somehow achieved impossible efficiency ratings. Supervisor Krell, you need to see this. She called to the bulky Vraxian at the command station. Another asteroid cluster, Hana. Log it and move on. But this wasn't an asteroid. Hana had been working the night shift at Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7 for 3 years now, and she knew every type of signature that crossed her screens. This was different. Very different. The readings showed a vessel roughly 200 meters long, moving at speeds that should have been impossible with such basic propulsion systems. The fusion signature was clean, almost elegant in its simplicity, but the power output readings made her triple-check her instruments. "Sir, please, just look at these numbers," Hana insisted, her voice carrying a tremor of excitement. Supervisor Krell lumbered over on his 6 legs, his massive frame casting a shadow over her workstation. His species, the Vraxians, were known for their methodical approach to everything. He glanced at her screen with 2 of his 4 eyes, while the other 2 remained focused on the main tactical display. Unusual readings, I'll give you that, he rumbled in his deep voice. But probably just a malfunction in the sensor array. We've been having issues with the quantum resonance calibration. Hana shook her head firmly. No, sir, I ran full diagnostics twice. The sensors are working perfectly. This signature, it matches something from the old archives. Archives? Krell's attention was now fully on her screen. The mythology files, sir. The stories about the Terrans. The mention of that word made Krell's 4 eyes blink in sequence, a sign of either amusement or irritation among his people. Child, you've been reading too many ancient texts. Humans are nothing but folklore. Old stories told to frighten young ones or inspire them with tales of mysterious guardians. But Hana couldn't let it go. She'd spent countless off-duty hours in the station's archive section, poring over ancient databases that most people considered historical fiction. Stories of a species that had supposedly vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago, leaving behind only whispered legends and half-remembered encounters. According to the tales, humans were master survivors who could adapt to any environment. They were said to be neither the strongest nor the smartest species, but they had something else, an incredible ability to improvise and overcome impossible odds. Most civilizations dismissed these stories as wishful thinking, the galaxy's way, of creating heroes when real ones were scarce. Look at this propulsion signature, Hana said, pulling up a comparison chart on her secondary screen. It's exactly what the ancient texts describe. Fusion drives, but not like ours. Theirs were supposed to be simple, reliable, and somehow more efficient than anything we've developed. The unknown vessel was now close enough that their passive sensors could pick up more detailed information. The hull design was unlike anything in current galactic databases, smooth, functional, with no unnecessary decorative elements that marked most civilized species' ships. It looked like it was built for one purpose, to keep moving through space no matter what tried to stop it. The power distribution is all wrong too, Hana continued, her excitement growing. Most ships put 70% of their energy into weapons and shields. This one has barely any weapons signatures, but the engines and life support systems are running at incredible efficiency levels. Krell was starting to look genuinely interested now. What's their heading? They're on a direct course for the Cytherian. Homeworld. Steady speed, no deviation, like they know exactly where they're going. That's impossible. No one has traveled that route in decades. The gravitational anomalies make it too dangerous. Hana pulled up the navigation data and felt her breath catch in her throat. Sir, they're not avoiding the anomalies, they're using them. Look at this trajectory. They're actually gaining speed by slingshotting around the gravity wells that would crush any normal ship. The implications hit both of them at the same time. Whoever was piloting that vessel had knowledge of space navigation that exceeded anything in their current databases. They were flying through hazards like they were familiar roads. Should I report this to High Command? Hana asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Krell was quiet for a long moment, all 4 eyes fixed on the sensor data. Finally he spoke. Not yet. Let's see what happens when they reach Cytherian space. If they're real, if they're actually what you think they are, then everything we know about galactic history is wrong. The mysterious ship continued its steady, approach, leaving Hana to wonder if she was about to witness the return of a species that most of the galaxy believed was nothing more than myth. Her grandmother's bedtime stories might have been more than just stories after all. As she watched the readings, one thought kept running through her mind. If humans really had survived somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, what had they been doing all this time? And why were they revealing themselves now? Captain Minho Kim stared at the incoming transmission with surprise. His crew aboard the New Soul had been traveling through what they assumed was empty space. "Sir, it's in Old Galactic Standard," reported Communications Officer Gina Park. "Very formal, almost ceremonial. Can you translate it?" Gina's fingers danced across her console, running the alien words through their translation matrix. "She's asking if we're Terrans, and she sounds both terrified and excited at the same time." Minho exchanged glances with his bridge crew. They'd been exploring the Outer Rim territories for months without encountering a single alien vessel. The New Soul was part of humanity's quiet expansion program, small, efficient ships that mapped new systems while staying well away from established galactic trade routes. "Put me through," Minho said, straightening his uniform. The transmission crackled to life, revealing a young alien woman with violet skin and large, expressive eyes. She was clearly nervous, her hands shaking as she operated what looked like a communication device. "This is Captain Kim of the Terran vessel New Soul," Minho said calmly. "We come in peace." The alien's reaction was immediate and dramatic. Her eyes went wide and she actually stumbled backward from her console. When she spoke again, her words came in a rapid flood that their translator struggled to keep up with. "You're real. You're actually real. I knew it, I told Supervisor Krell, but he wouldn't believe me. The signatures matched perfectly, just like Grandmother Nala's stories described. Are there more of you? How many ships? Where have you been hiding?" Minho held up a hand to slow her down. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been some confusion. We're not hiding from anyone. We're explorers from the Terran colonial fleet. Who did? You say you were?" "I'm Hana, Junior Sensor Operator on Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7. My species is Cytherian, and we thought humans were myths. Ancient stories. Legends that parents tell their children." The bridge of the New Soul fell silent. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. Myths? Yes. For thousands of years there have been stories about the mysterious Terrans, guardians who appeared when civilizations were in danger, then vanished without asking for anything in return. Most people think the stories are just folklore, but the old archives describe your ships, your technology, even your appearance. "You look exactly like the ancient drawings." Navigation Officer Wu turned to Minho with a puzzled expression. "Sir, we've been operating in this sector for 6 months. How did they not detect us before now?" "We did detect you," Hana said, apparently overhearing. "But your ships don't show up on our standard sensors. We've been seeing energy signatures for years that we couldn't identify. Command always classified them as natural phenomena or sensor ghosts." Chief Engineer Yoon spoke up from his station. "Captain, our stealth systems aren't that advanced. If they've been detecting us, their technology must be different from what we expected." Minho was about to respond when his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sung, looked up from his console with concern. "Sir, we have multiple contacts approaching fast. Large vessels, definitely military configuration." On the main screen, 6 sleek warships materialized from what had appeared to be empty space. They moved in perfect formation, surrounding the New Soul in a classic containment pattern. "Oh no," Hana's voice came through the comm, filled with worry. "I had to report the contact to High Command. They're sending the 5th Fleet to investigate." "Are we in danger?" Minho asked, though his calm tone didn't reveal his concern. "I don't know. The High Command is cautious about unknown threats. They might try to board your ship or demand you come with them for questioning. Some of the military leaders think humans, if they're real, could be a threat to galactic stability." The lead Cytherian warship opened a communication channel. A stern-looking alien with elaborate military decorations appeared on screen. His skin was a deeper violet than Hana's, and his eyes held no warmth. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Cytherian space. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded." Minho stood from his captain's chair. "This is Captain Kim, of the Terran ship New Sol. We're peaceful explorers and mean no harm to your people." The Cytherian commander's expression didn't change. "Terran? Impossible. You will shut down your engines and submit to inspection, or we will disable your ship by force." "Sir," Tactical Officer Sung whispered, "their weapons are powering up." Minho looked at his crew, all of whom were watching him with steady confidence. They'd trained for situations like this, though they'd never expected to encounter alien military forces. The New Sol wasn't a warship, but it had capabilities that these aliens probably didn't understand. "Hana," Minho said into the comm, "can you tell your commander that we're willing to talk but we won't surrender our ship?" "I'll try, but he's not listening to me anymore. The military thinks humans returning could upset the balance of power in the galaxy. They're scared of what you might represent." The Cytherian commander's voice cut through the channel again. "You have 30 seconds to comply, or we will open fire." Minho made his decision. "All hands, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Communications, keep that channel to Hana open. She might be our only friend out here." As the countdown began, Minho realized that humanity's quiet exploration phase was about to end dramatically. "They're trying to box us in," reported navigation. Officer Wu Jin Lee watching the Cytherian formation tighten around them. "Standard encirclement pattern," Minho observed calmly. "They're treating us like a conventional threat." The Cytherians had advanced beam weapons and exotic shielding, but their ships moved in predictable patterns. Human engineering had focused on adaptability over raw power. "Evasive pattern Sigma," Minho ordered. The New Sol suddenly dropped, its nose unrolled sideways, slipping through what should have been an impossible gap between two Cytherian warships. The alien pilots, expecting standard evasive maneuvers, found themselves firing at empty space where the human ship had been just moments before. "How did they do that?" came Hana's amazed voice over the comm from her monitoring station. "Lieutenant, Sung at Tactical was already plotting their next move. Sir, their targeting systems are trying to predict our course based on standard physics models, but our maneuvering thrusters aren't placed where they expect them to be." That was the key difference. While most galactic civilizations had developed bigger engines and more powerful weapons, humans had learned to make every system work together. The New Sol didn't just have main engines, it had dozens of small thrusters positioned all over the hull, allowing it to change direction in ways that looked impossible to alien observers. "They're regrouping," Wu reported, watching the Cytherian ships trying to reform their containment pattern. 3 ships moving to block our forward path, 2 covering the flanks. "Predictable," Minho said with a slight smile. "They're thinking like military tacticians instead of pilots." The human approach to space combat was different from what the galaxy expected. Most alien races had developed their tactics around massive ships with overwhelming firepower. The bigger your ship, the more weapons you could mount, the more likely you were to win. It was simple logic that had worked for thousands of years, but humans had learned their lessons in smaller conflicts, fighting pirates and dealing with mechanical failures in deep space, where help was always too far away. They'd learned that survival often depended on doing the unexpected. "Engineering, can you give me a temporary power boost to the dorsal thrusters?" Minho asked. Chief Engineer Yoon's voice came back immediately. "Already on it, Captain. Rerouting power from non-essential systems. You'll have 30 seconds of enhanced maneuverability." This was another human advantage that the Cytherians couldn't have predicted. While their ships were marvels of engineering, each system was designed to work independently. Human ships were built like living organisms. When one part needed extra power, the whole ship could adapt to provide it. "Here they come," Sung announced, as the Cytherian warships accelerated toward them. Instead of running or fighting back, Minho did something that confused everyone watching. He flew the New Sol directly toward the largest Cytherian ship. "Sir?" Wu asked, his voice tight with concern. "Trust me," Minho replied. The Cytherian commander's face appeared on screen, again looking puzzled and angry. "You're flying directly into our weapons range. Surrender now or—" His words were cut off as the New Sol suddenly flipped upside down and used the larger ship's own gravity field to slingshot around it at tremendous speed. The human ship emerged on the other side of the formation, moving, faster than before, and completely outside the Cytherians' firing solution. "Impossible," the alien commander shouted. "No ship can maneuver like that." But Hana understood what she was seeing. "They're not fighting you," she said over the comm. "They're using physics against you. Every time you try to corner them, they use your own ship's positions to escape." The truth was that human pilots trained differently from everyone else in the galaxy. While alien academies taught students to master their ship's weapons and defensive systems, human pilots learned to think of space itself as a tool. Gravity wells, magnetic fields, even radiation from nearby stars. Everything became part of. "They're flying. They're trying to jam our communications," Communications Officer Gina reported. "But it's not working properly. Their jamming frequency keeps shifting." "Because they don't know what frequency we're actually using," Minho explained. "Our communication systems adapt automatically. Another old human trick. Never use the same approach twice." The Cytherian ships were getting frustrated. Their advanced targeting computers couldn't get a lock on a ship that changed its movement patterns every few seconds. Their powerful weapons were useless if they couldn't hit their target. "Sir," Sung said, "I'm reading power fluctuations in their lead ship. I think they're overheating their weapon systems." That was the final advantage humans had developed over their years of careful observation. They knew how other species' technology worked, often better than those species knew themselves. The Cytherians were pushing their ships beyond safe operating parameters, trying to end this confrontation quickly. "Open a channel to their commander," Minho ordered. The alien leader appeared on screen, his violet skin now flushed with a darker color that probably indicated anger or embarrassment. "We don't want to fight you," Minho said simply. "We're explorers, not warriors. But we've been flying through dangerous space for a long time, and we've learned how to survive. Maybe we should talk instead of shooting at each other." The Cytherian commander stared at him for a long moment, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Finally, he spoke. "Your ship moves like nothing we've ever encountered. How is this possible?" "Experience," Minho replied. "We've been out here longer than you know." Hana materialized on the New Souls Bridge via transport beam, her first time aboard a human vessel. Everything looked so practical. No ornate decorations or status displays, just efficient design. "Your people aren't extinct," she breathed, looking around in wonder. "Never were," Captain Minho explained, leading her to the observation deck. "We just learned early that the galaxy's a dangerous place for those who stand out." The observation deck was unlike anything Hana had seen on Cytherian ships. Instead of massive viewing screens showing tactical data and ship status, there was simply a large transparent section of hull that offered an unobstructed view of space. It felt like standing in the void itself. "But the records," Hana said, still trying to process what she was seeing. "The archaeological evidence shows human civilization disappeared over 3,000 years ago. Your homeworld went silent. Your colonies were abandoned." Minho nodded slowly. "That's exactly what we wanted everyone to think." He gestured toward the stars outside. "Tell me, Hana, what do you know about the Great War between the Zephyrian Empire and the Altarian Collective?" Everyone knows that story. It lasted 200 years and nearly destroyed both civilizations. Billions died before they finally signed the Peace of Vega. What ended the war? Hana thought for a moment. The histories say it was mutual exhaustion. Both sides ran out of resources and people to fight. "The histories are wrong," Minho said quietly. "The war ended because someone started systematically destroying military supply lines for both sides. Weapons shipments vanished in transit. Communication networks failed at crucial moments. Key military leaders received intelligence that made them question their orders." The implications hit Hana like a physical blow. "You're saying humans were involved?" "My great-grandfather was part of the team that sabotaged the Zephyrian orbital weapons platform above Altair Prime. My grandmother helped disable the Altarian dreadnought fleet before they could bomb Zephyria Central. We didn't pick sides. We just made sure the war couldn't continue." Before Hana could respond, Engineer Yoon approached them. "Captain, we're receiving coded transmissions from the outer system. Should I respond?" "Go ahead," Minho said. Yoon activated a communication panel, and suddenly the space around them seemed to come alive. Ships appeared from nowhere, sleek vessels that had been invisible moments before, emerging from behind asteroids, uncloaking from what had seemed like empty space, rising from the shadow of nearby moons. "How many?" Hana whispered, staring at the growing fleet. "This is just the local patrol group," Minho explained. "Maybe 30 ships. There are 12 other human fleets in this sector alone." The numbers were staggering. Hana had studied galactic demographics extensively, and according to every official census, humans had been extinct for millennia. Yet here was evidence of a thriving civilization that had somehow remained completely hidden. "Where do you live?" she asked. "What worlds do you call home?" Communications officer Gina joined them at the observation deck. "That's the beautiful part," she said with a smile. "We don't have traditional homeworlds anymore. We learned that centralized civilizations are vulnerable to exactly the kind of conflicts we've been preventing. Our cities are mobile," Yoon added. "Generation ships, asteroid habitats, space stations that can relocate when necessary. We're nomadic by choice." Minho brought up a holographic display that showed the local star systems. "See these asteroid fields? Half of them aren't natural. They're camouflaged human settlements. That nebula over there? It's hiding 3 manufacturing complexes and a population of 2 million people." Hana felt dizzy trying to comprehend the scope of what she was seeing. But how do you coordinate? How do you maintain a civilization without fixed worlds, without central government? "Very carefully," Minho said with a laugh, "and with a lot of practice. We've had 3,000 years to perfect the art of invisible cooperation." Gina pulled up another display. "Every human community is self-sufficient, but we share knowledge instantly across the entire network. When the Cytherian plague struck your outer colonies 15 years ago, our medical researchers had a cure developed within days. We just made sure it appeared to come from your own scientists." "The Yorvak asteroid that was going to hit New Cytheria," Yoon added. "We nudged it off course using gravity manipulation technology, made it look like a natural gravitational anomaly. The pirate fleets that were terrorizing the trade routes between Vraxian and Centauri space," Minho continued, "they didn't just disappear. We relocated them to uninhabited systems and offered them legitimate work in our mining operations." Hana's legs felt weak. She sat down heavily on a nearby bench, trying to process everything she was hearing. "You've been secretly protecting the entire galaxy." "Not protecting," Minho corrected. "Guiding. The galaxy is full of young civilizations making the same mistakes we made when we were younger. We just try to make sure those mistakes don't destroy everyone." "But why?" Hana asked. "Why hide? Why not reveal yourselves and take your place as leaders?" The 3 humans exchanged glances, and Minho's expression grew serious. "Because we tried that once, long ago. We had an empire, colonies, all the things that civilizations are supposed to want, and it nearly destroyed us." "Power corrupts," Gina said simply. "Even good people with good intentions can become tyrants when they have too much control over others." "So we chose a different path," Yoon concluded. "We decided to help without ruling, to guide without controlling." Hana looked out at the human fleet surrounding them, finally understanding the magnitude of what she had discovered. These weren't conquerors or refugees. They were guardians who had chosen to remain in the shadows, working tirelessly to keep the galaxy stable and peaceful. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Minho smiled. "Now we find out if the galaxy is ready to know the truth." 6 months later, Hana stood in the newly established embassy on Cytheria Prime, wearing the insignia of humanity's first alien ambassador. The galaxy had changed overnight when news of human survival spread. Some species panicked, others celebrated, but most simply felt relief. The mysterious guardians from their folklore were real. "The hegemony wants to negotiate mining rights," reported Ambassador Dong Hyun through the comm. "And the Vraxian coalition is asking for help with their refugee crisis," added Captain Minho from his ship. Hana looked out at the bustling spaceport, where human and alien vessels now docked side by side. Her grandmother's stories hadn't been myths after all. They'd been history. Humans hadn't vanished. They'd simply been working behind the scenes, quietly ensuring the galaxy's survival. The first week after the revelation had been chaos. News networks across dozens of worlds ran nothing but stories about humanity's return. Ancient archives were pulled from storage as scholars desperately tried to separate fact from fiction in the old tales. Some governments called emergency sessions to discuss this new reality, while others simply waited to see what would happen next. The Centauri Trade Federation is offering exclusive partnerships. Hana's assistant, a young Cytherian named Kira, said as she entered the office with a stack of data tablets. They want access to human stealth technology. Tell them the same thing we've told everyone else, Hana replied, turning away from the window. Humans don't sell weapons technology. They never have. That had been one of the biggest surprises for galactic governments. When species discovered that humans possessed technology far beyond what anyone had imagined, the first assumption was that humanity would use this advantage to dominate galactic politics. Instead, the humans had made it clear from the beginning that they had no interest in ruling anyone. What about the medical research proposals? Kira asked, scrolling through her notes. Those we can work with, Hana said with a smile. Set up meetings with the research teams from Altair Medical University and the Vraxian Health Institute. Captain Minho mentioned that human doctors have developed treatments for several conditions that other species still consider incurable. Tuofiao. Irony wasn't lost on Hana that she, a former radar operator, who had been dismissed as a dreamer just months ago, was now coordinating diplomatic relations between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. But the humans had specifically requested her for this role, saying they trusted someone who had believed in them when no one else would. Her communicator chimed with an incoming message from Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7. It was from Supervisor Krell, her old boss. Hana, I hope you're settling into your new position well. I wanted to let you know that we've identified 17 more human vessels that have been using this trade route over the past 2 years. They were right under our noses the entire time, and we never knew. Your grandmother would be proud. The mention of her grandmother brought back memories of those childhood evenings when Nala would tell her stories about the mysterious Terrans. Stories that everyone else dismissed as fairy tales, designed to make children behave or inspire them to be brave. The Yorvak Mining Consortium sent another proposal, Kira continued, reading from her tablet. They want human engineers to help them develop safer extraction methods. Approved, Hana said immediately. That's exactly the kind of cooperation we want to encourage. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. 3 species had initially responded to the news with hostility, convinced that humanity's hidden presence was evidence of a long-term invasion plan. The Thrakari Empire had even mobilized their battle fleets, demanding that humans reveal all their hidden bases and submit to galactic oversight. The human response had been typically unexpected. Instead of matching the Thrakari's military posturing, they had simply declassified and shared their complete historical records of assistance provided to Thrakari colonies over the past century. The list included early warning systems for solar flares, medical supplies during plague outbreaks, and discreet elimination of asteroid threats. When the Thrakari military leaders realized that humans had been quietly saving their people's lives for generations, the hostility evaporated overnight. Their emperor had personally apologized and requested that human medical teams help establish better emergency response systems across their territory. Captain Minho is requesting a meeting, Kira announced, checking her schedule display. Something about a new development with the refugee situation. Send him in. Captain Minho entered the embassy office looking tired but satisfied. Over the past months, he had become the unofficial coordinator of human assistance efforts, working with various alien governments to address problems that had been considered unsolvable. The Vraxian refugee crisis is bigger than we thought, he said, settling into a chair across from Hana's desk. But also easier to solve than their government believes. What do you mean? They have 3 million displaced people and nowhere. To put them, they've been trying to negotiate resettlement treaties with other worlds, but nobody wants to accept that many refugees. What they don't realize is that there are dozens of uninhabited systems in their territory that could easily support large populations. Hana leaned forward with interest. Uninhabited systems that humans have been monitoring. Exactly. We've been studying them for decades, waiting for someone to need them. We already know which planets have the right atmosphere, which asteroids contain the minerals needed for construction, even which systems have the most stable weather patterns. And you're offering to help them establish new colonies. Minho nodded. Not just help, we're offering to provide the transportation, the initial infrastructure, and the technical support they'll need to become self-sufficient within 5 years. No strings attached. This was what impressed Hannah most about humanity's approach to their new public role. They had the power to demand payment, political favors, or strategic advantages in exchange for their help. Instead, they simply offered assistance wherever it was needed, asking nothing in return except the chance to prevent suffering. The galaxy is changing, Minho said, looking out at the spaceport where human and alien crews worked side by side. For the first time in recorded history, major conflicts are being resolved through cooperation instead of warfare. Species are sharing resources instead of fighting over them. Because they know someone is watching, Hannah realized, not to control them, but to help them. Exactly. The knowledge that humans exist and are actively working to maintain stability has given everyone permission to be better than they were before. As Hannah watched the busy spaceport, she thought about how much her world had changed since that night, when she first detected the impossible energy signature on her radar screen. Her grandmother's bedtime stories had turned out to be the most important historical documents in galactic civilization. The age of hidden guardians was indeed over. The age of open cooperation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.